So, for the past year, I've been working for BCG in Dubai, and because of that, I've traveled quite a bit and worked a lot in the region. So I'm going to talk about my preconceived notions of working in the Middle East, what I got out of it, and something to take away for everyone. So, thanks to some of these guys on the left-hand side, Donald Trump, Fox News, CNN, as an American, we tend to have, I would say, a pretty closed-minded view of this region specifically. And coming into the region, I thought, look, locals are lazy, I'm not going to work with women, and frankly speaking, most of the people I thought would look like the depiction of terrorists like we have in the US. So this is what I went in with this mentality, which was probably wrong. And coming out of it, most of these things were proven wrong. Some true, but most of them wrong. So I'm going to talk about 3 examples of instances, small encounters, in which I went in with a preconceived notion, but came out with a completely opposite view. So one was an encounter I had with the client talking about politics. And obviously, rule number 1, never talk about politics, but I couldn't avoid it. So he's telling me about what he thought about the elections. I assume already that he's probably going to talk about how bad Donald Trump is, how bad America is, so on and so forth. He started with, I'm so happy that you guys elected Donald Trump. So that itself corrected me in my view of, wow, if the US can elect someone like Donald Trump, that means there's people around the world that probably support him. So that was number 1. The fact that don't assume where people are, based off of where people are from, that they'll vote or think a certain way. Second, passport control. If anyone's been in the Middle East, you know that people in passport control, especially to us Indians, tend to be a little racist. So every week traveling, going back and forth, 90% of the time I'm usually ticked off, don't want to talk to them, and they're treating me like crap. But this one time, the guy says, where are you from? And usually that means you have an American passport, you look brown, but how do you have an American passport? This must mean you're Indian. And they're very confused with this, and you can't convince them otherwise. So one thing that I always do is I usually ignore them. It's in the morning, I just want to get on a flight, go home. But this time the guy kept saying, where are you from? Where are you from? I said, my family's from India, but I grew up in the US, I go back and forth all the time. He's like, no, from New Jersey. Where are you from New Jersey? Saudi Arabian guy with the dove and everything. I'm wondering, why does this guy care where I'm from New Jersey? So I said, oh, I grew up in Branchburg, it's a small town near Bridgewater. He said, yeah, I know Bridgewater. I'm like, okay. Then he starts talking to me about the New York Giants, all in about a matter of 2 minutes. And I was like, wow, okay. I know 90% of the time most of these guys are going to be jerks, but that 10% I should at least be prepared to have a good conversation with them. The last one was the amount of women I worked with in the region. So surprisingly, I really thought there would be very little interaction, but all the projects I've worked on have had either women on the client side or from my team. And that's been a very pleasant surprise, and in fact, many of the people I've worked with have told me that men in the region are in fact lazy, so one of my assumptions was confirmed, and women are driving a lot of the change. So the point of this is not necessarily to talk about the Middle East specifically, but just talk about how we all have preconceived notions, and as we travel, as we go around, how we should be open and welcome change to some of those notions. So, as many of you know, in Saudi Arabia next year, women are going to be able to drive, and people are going to be able to watch movies. To most of us, this is probably a joke, and we think, wow, why is this even relevant? But the point is that times are changing, and whether we like it or not, the world around us is changing relative to our views. So we should be in a position to test our own preconceived notions and in fact welcome change to our own views. So that's kind of what I've taken away, right? Like I said, in the beginning I came in with a bunch of preconceived notions, some of which are still true, but now I'm probably more open than ever in terms of testing those and welcoming other viewpoints. So in conclusion, I just want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Or maybe you'll recognize the first one in their life. This is not just for this is Christmas cards that we printed for friends in Dubai. So, thank you.
Gautam Venkatrangareddy.
How many of females are dealing with wearing burqas?
Wearing burqas?
Yeah, when you're dealing with, you said you're dealing with females, right?
So in Saudi, majority.
So in your day-to-day, in a conference hall, will you still be wearing burqas and around to you?
I would say 50%. Depends on the region. I mean, the country itself.
Country.
In Saudi?
In Saudi, yeah, most of them.
Did you find any burqa?
Would you like any ice?
You have shown us the picture of
that was Google images from this morning. Google.
From Google.
Okay, let's give him a big hand.
Gautam Venkatrangareddy, Sales Director.